So hi Deb, you're up there in the north and I'm here in Auckland today. What's happening up there today?
Yep, beautiful sunny day on a gorgeous permaculture village. So just looking out into green and fruit and vegetables. Very delightful here. Been for a walk on the beach, so yeah, I feel like I'm one of the blessed people at the moment.
Very, very cool. Hey Deb, we met a few years ago. I don't know exactly when that was, but I do remember it was around the time when I became familiar with Casper. Are you able to tell us what that is and what led you to be part of that at that time? I know you've moved on with other things since then, but perhaps, you know, our starting point together and what you've been through, what your rite of passage has been through as a woman and as a mother to lead you to the place you're at now.
Wow, that's so much territory, isn't it? But I remember when I met you too, Janelle, and it was just such a beautiful meeting because you were so passionate about children as well, and I certainly am. But yeah, I lost my daughter in 2008 to suicide, and that was a huge shock to me, and that led me on to, well, it led me on to grief, of course, and that went on for a very, very, very long time. It's been 8 years now, of course, but those first 5, 6, 7 years in particular were really, really difficult. I don't believe in pharmaceuticals. I don't believe in, well, I don't believe in a lot of stuff actually. But anyway, I believe in good food, and I believe in nature, and I believe in friendship, and especially with women and children. And my friends were a huge source of comfort then, and still are. But after Cloud died, there was a lot of questions that I had, and they've actually never been answered except in a very spiritual way. But the questions I had were at that stage were questions for the authorities, really, through Cloud's dealings with different you know, like for instance, the women's free contraceptive clinics and things like that, where I was trying to get records so I could see what, you know, trying to piece the picture together, because it was very difficult to get any of Cloud's personal records then.
Mm-hmm.
And
so what was your intention about collecting those pieces? What pieces of the puzzle did you want to get together that were missing?
Well, that started me off on, and that's when I met Maria again. After 16 years, I met Maria Bradshaw, and she had just lost her son Torrin to suicide as well through a drug called an antidepressant called Prozac. And it was
a lot of us are familiar with, you know, it's out there, hey?
Yeah, yes. It definitely is a huge issue. So that was the other thing, that it became very clear to me that both Maria and I were part of a bigger picture, and the questions we had were probably going to be mirrored, you know, through a lot of families that were suffering the same as we were through the loss of our children. So we formed a group called CASPER, Community Action on Suicide Prevention, Education and Research, and that was a huge vehicle for us to get out there and talk about our experiences, and to meet with other parents in particular, and with the youth that were suffering from what we began to see as huge social issues, and that weren't personal deficits. This was part of a big picture. So that's how Casper formed, and that's through Casper. That's how I met you, Janelle. That's how I've met a lot of people and gathered information, and really opened my heart up. That really cracked open a lot. There was no more pretending. There was no more Mrs. Nice Woman, or, you know, there were questions to be answered. There were things to be done. There was women to be hugged, children to be helped, information to be found out. And you know, that's where we are today. That's talking to you about some of these, you know, really hard stuff that is really going off hugely in New Zealand and actually globally.
Absolutely. So what are the key things that you pieced together? What were some of those discoveries you learned through the questions that you had? that would help people today?
Well, I think the main thing was, suicide for me at that stage was this word. It was just dumped there. It was this massive word with so many connotations. Suicide. People said, "Oh, how selfish you were, Cloud." And I couldn't believe that. My daughter's selfish. She wasn't selfish. She was in pain, emotional pain. So that led me much more down a spiritual path. I had to look within, but I looked up, I looked down, I looked into people's eyes, I really looked into their hearts. And now when I see a child, I see a heart that needs love. And same with women too. I make it a regular practice to hug people. So that was there's been lots of really simple learnings. Like for the first few years, I found that nature was the only thing that really could get me through the next couple of hours, the next few minutes, the next whatever. There wasn't people there. They couldn't be there. They couldn't know. You couldn't just go in and dump yourself down there. And I knew from my friend's experience, if I lay down and I started kicking my heels around and said, okay, I can't do this anymore, I've had enough, I just can't do it, and screamed and shouted and cried, and I wouldn't be helped in the way that I wanted to be helped, which was to be listened to or nurtured, or just, somebody being there to just care really what I was going through. Because we know that things keep changing. So it was a moment in time. Those moments, they were really hard moments, really.
And they come randomly, yeah? They don't just come in planned and scheduled, hey, come on over at 3 o'clock today. It's like it's 2:30 in the morning and I'm feeling whatever I'm feeling,
Yeah, so I learned to use the stars and the moon. I picked up shells, I found signs. Then I started to see signs. They were in numbers, they were in streets. For instance, when we first started Casper, we got lost quite a bit because we'd try and find free venues around different areas in Auckland, and we would put on free seminars to try and alert other people about the issues that we were going through and the dangers that we thought that other children, were in. And if we got lost, might see a sign that said cloudy or
come on,
significant number, or there was a rainbow, and we'd go that way. And now I see, that those things come to me quite a lot now. I really recognize them and I look for them and I'm really open to them. And I say, oh, thank you so much, Cloud. I saw that, I felt it, I heard it,
And what a lot of people don't realise out there in their grief is that we have such access to those in spirit. You and I have both had those experiences of seeing signs, of hearing our loved ones, of really listening to them, of perhaps seeing them in different ways that we instantly recognise and know that they're around. And for you and I, probably that's, for me, I have constant conversations. You have constant conversations, by the sounds of it, with Cloudy. Yeah, I have constant conversations with some of my loved ones in spirit who really support me in my darkest of hours or even in my best of hours. And I love that concept. People say, well, how do you connect with them? Well, I say, well, you have a conversation. You have a conversation and you just listen on in, and you might hear something, you might not, but you might see something, you might feel something.
You might assume something. You might. That's right, but you do actually have to open to it. And it's like before Cloud died, I made lots of assumptions. That's the way I feel about it now, that I assumed that everything was okay. I assumed that things would get better. I assumed that there was these rites of passages that all women went through, all children went through, but you made it through the other side. What I didn't factor in was it had been a lot of years since I'd had heartbreak. It had been a whole lot of years since I'd felt the amount of pain that I believe Cloud was in at the time that she decided that she couldn't take anymore. But I wasn't open. I was assuming a lot. I wasn't open to what actually the picture was in front of me. I was too busy trying to make good what I thought I needed to in this world. So I've discarded all that now, or most of it. I'm not interested in being a part of the system as it stands now, and I stand in a different place altogether than I did when, not that I didn't love my children and I didn't do lots of fabulous things with them and all of that, but I had no idea what was going on in the world out there. I just assumed that somebody was taking care of the bigger picture, that things were, you know, on the up and up. It was me. When I had a hard time, I believed it was me, that it was my fault because of the things I was doing, and some of it was, of course it was, but a lot of it is a social issue, and what's happening to me is part of a big picture that I need to look at, because it's also happening to a lot of other people. And I think most of us, whatever we're experiencing in our life, is that we need to look at it on a bigger scale than a personal deficit, whether it's our children, us, or, you know, our next door neighbour, our mother, or whatever. You know, if they've gone into hospital, into care or something, and ended up on pharmaceuticals, this isn't about your grandmother. This is about the fact that all the grandmothers are happening. Just like Torrin on Prozac alerted us to that children as young as 5 were being given these psychotropic drugs, and what are they? They're chemicals, you know, things like that. I didn't even ask things like that. When I took my children to the doctor, I totally trusted the doctor knew what he was doing. If he said, okay, we'll take these pills, cut, it was just a little pill, you know, what could a little pill do? I didn't even say, well, what's in it? Or I didn't ask for an insert. I didn't even know they had inserts, you know. I have no information around any of that stuff. And I just assumed everything like that. Whereas it's made things so interesting, because I'm interested in the figures. I'm interested in the, you know, the whole social structure. But what I'm most interested in, of course, is the actual people, because that's where I am now. I've got several groups of young people, and I get to every week, once a week, with my homeschoolers, we do a wilderness and outdoor horse adventure training, and we might cook, we might go and collect something off the beach, we might go for a walk, or certainly be with the horses at some part of it, but you know, we just look at what we want to, you know, what we want to fill ourselves up with that day, who's got a special needs, because somebody might be really tired, you know, and need some special care. We'll take care of that person, you know, but I try to really look at the group as not just, okay, I have this plan and we're doing this at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
Scheduled way, yeah.
It's nothing like that at all, but we have a great time. But we'll go, and for instance, if we're calling each other, if somebody's got a bit lost, because I'll say, I'll meet you down the bottom of the hill, but you go through the bush there and I'll watch down there, and I'll just meet you down there. And so if somebody gets left behind or whatever, we yell out magic. We don't go, where are you, where are you? We're magic, you know. And now the kids do it all the time. If we're calling for each other down the beach or anywhere, that's what we yell out is magic. And it's just the little things. And then I have older children now, which I've had, you know, I'm lucky to have had since Cloud died 8 years ago. I've had several, or before she died, there was already some children coming through a program, but it was different. Whereas these children are really, this is much more freestyle, much more open. We talk about a lot of stuff. I have lots of posters in the card, no psychotropic drugging of children, peace, love and happiness, eat mung beans, you know, whatever, things like that to feed their souls. I really want them to question about their own lives and where they want to, you know, what they want to take into their bodies, for instance. I think that's really important, and they need good quality information around that stuff. So, okay, we want to go pick the stuff off the trees. We want to go into Kath's garden and get the vegetables and bring them and make a stir fry or whatever. But it's the simple things. It's not rocket science. This is all just I can make a difference by looking a child in the eye and giving it a hug and spending time with it. Yes. That child. I believe.
What do you think's going wrong in this world at the moment? And I have my own very strong personal opinions about this too, as a very fervent mother. What do you think's going wrong in this world around how we are parenting, mothering, and really the pressures out there at the moment?
Well, I think globally there's a huge rape culture and sexualization culture, and I think it's absolutely deliberate. So I don't think we've just stumbled on it. It's been manufactured. If TV wasn't, why do people spend so much on ads if it wasn't, you know, going to be soaking into here? What do we see on TV? Everything we don't want our children to know, hear, see, feel, whatever. So one thing that I'm really strong about is that message, the pornography, the rape, the sexualization, and how that comes about, because it's a deliberate thing. It's not, it didn't just like fall out of the sky and, oh, the egg hatched and here we are, we found it. Was absolutely deliberate, like the alcohol, the pee. The only free trade agreement we have with China really is pee at the moment. It's coming in. The homelessness, the poverty, that's all manufactured. That's what I see now. I don't want anybody to think there's personal deficit. It's not people to take charge of their lives and eat good food, eat fresh, eat locally, eat organically, grow it if you can. If you can't, form a group that you can do it with, or because it's important. Our children need to know this stuff. They really need to know how to grow their own food. They really need to know how to spend quality time with themselves, and you know, not go looking for through lack. But then I'm not living in a city. I'm living out here in the country. I don't have an alcohol.
There's a choice, Deb. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think they've got to live the life that they're living as they are now, but they don't actually, huh? We can be, and what I get from you is that you're living a simpler life. You're living those simple pleasures and teaching those kids those simple pleasures. You're living a grounded, earthy kind of life where you're teaching them to nourish themselves with good food, but also fresh air, being out there away from what's being manufactured, like you're saying, here on the TV, the screens, the laptops, the whatever else they're watching and indulging in. So what's your opinion about the old internet and teenagers' use of internet?
Well, I wish that they had the option of doing way more things, especially outdoors. For myself, you know, why aren't there benches everywhere that we can be lying on, watching the moon and the stars? Why isn't there safe places for us to come together and do stuff? Why are we stuck in front of screens? Again, if every single person has a screen, every single person has a washing machine, then we don't have to share, we don't have to do anything together, we don't
relate. We don't have to be intimate.
No. So my wishes for children, well, in particular, because I love the outdoors so much, that I want to get them in nature. That's where I am. Other people want to do other things with them. That's fantastic, but please, everybody can do something. And like you said, different choices. We can all make different choices, but we can only make an informed choice if we have information. You know, if we make assumptions, even though something might look different around us, we still assume it's our fault, and so therefore we won't actually take much notice because if we try harder it'll be different. No, it's not like that. Things are different in this world now, and it's changed very fast, I think, and I can see how people are being called out, because I myself, I feel like I've been absolutely, you know, smacked face first into information that if somebody had said to me, there's GMO, genetically engineered foods, that there's terrible, if you take a non-fat option, then you're probably going to be eating lots of chemicals. I didn't actually know any of that stuff. I just assumed that if it was there, then it was fit for consumption, basically. Yes, I knew biscuits had too much sugar in it, but I actually didn't know that sugar was a chemical composition that heavy metals and stuff. I didn't go that far. I just knew it was bad, because just like immunizations, you know, I knew that there was a lot of controversy, but I didn't know what the controversy was. There wasn't actually internet in my time, and before Cloud died, I never had a computer. I didn't want one. I wanted nothing to do with them, actually, because I wanted to be outside. But it's been so useful, because actually, you know, the statistics are going to be lower than they actually are. So when you start taking a little bit of notice of that, you realise, oh my gosh, okay, so I'm not the only one in this position. Just like suicide, I'm sorry, there's 3 people at least dying a day in New Zealand, because a lot of them aren't being counted as suicide. The threshold's too high. Even if you leave a note, even Cloud, who left some messages on my phone to say goodbye, things like that, that she almost didn't make the threshold for suicide. That's stupid, isn't it? It just sounds too crazy to be true, but it is true. So all these figures, even though they're an indication, are still lower than they are. I just want people to say, okay, this is the type of life I want to live, so what's holding me back? Why aren't I doing it now? Why aren't I taking my children and doing this thing that I know that in my head and in my heart, that's where I should be doing, or I want to do, or you know, there's some knowing. You don't even have to have a real big reason, but you know somewhere in your heart. That's if you're healthy, because I do believe that all the chemicals from the food and the pharmaceuticals they're all acting on the brain. So that's the other thing I didn't know. I thought, okay, if I took a pharmaceuticals because I had a sore shoulder, it acted on my shoulder. No, it's acting on my brain. So by the time you've had alcohol, bad food, sugar, pharmaceuticals, you have to detox first anyway, because you're not going to be able to be a creative, imaginative thinker, let alone I don't know, when you see a picture clearly.
So knowing what you know now around contraception, I'm fascinated with that. What can you tell us?
Oh, I was
for a young woman, but also us as as women in our midlife.
Yeah, and as mothers in particular, because when I took Cloud to the family planning, I thought that family planning gave alternative information as well. But Cloud, I thought that free condoms would be that was probably going to be the best thing. I didn't really know a lot about the pills. I'd myself taken the pill. I'd had an injection a few times when I was young.
So we're talking Depot,
yeah. And it wasn't till Cloud died and I was starting to get her records from the family planning that I started to look into what these pills actually were and what they did. And I made an appointment with family planning because I couldn't get the records, but they would give me an appointment with a doctor, one of the doctors. And she took me into the clinic and she opened a drawer, and the drawer was full with files of pills. So every time, if you had a reaction to a pill, it wasn't a reaction, it was, or they had special names of something bleed, or something silly like that. But basically what they did is they pulled out this drawer, went ting, 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 ting with their fingers all through all these pills and pulled out another one and went, oh, try this one. And then so I started getting books on it, and I realized that it was synthetic estrogen and estrogen, and there was chemicals, and they were starting to add PMS stuff to it, and it was just like, oh my god, all of us are on this unsafe, terrible medication. It's basically medication, and it also.
Have you seen a link with that and sort of depression or suicidal feelings? Do you know?
Absolutely. I just feel like Cloud was, she was really fit. She was working at a gym at the time, at a women's gym, and she was eating quite a bit of low-fat food. Like she'd get yogurt and cottage cheese and crackers and things like that. Well, then you add that with a contraceptive, you add that with some heartache and perhaps think you might be pregnant, which is going to, again, and as I said, all this stuff's working on your brain, and that's the part that we're always trying to, maintain this nice balance with, because of course we are going to have sadness, we are going to have misery, there's no avoiding it. That is life. How are we going to handle it? That's how we have to really think about it. But if you are taking a contraceptive and you're not feeling great, it's not going to do you any good. In fact, you should be finding other ways. There must be other ways. I've given up sex forever. I don't care about it. I don't want it. So I don't even have to worry about it. And if I do have sex, I want it with a woman anyway. But anyway, I've never been that lucky to, or what, you know what I mean. But that's just my own personal thing, because I don't want to even have to go there anymore.
But what I'm hearing from you again and again, it's not just one single factor that's leading to us feeling the way we're feeling. There's all these different factors on top of each other. And, I just look at teenagers, particularly these days, and the pressures that they are under. And, you know, can you look back at Cloudy's life and re-look at her life and go, hey, I understand now a few more pressures that she was going through that perhaps she didn't know at the time?
Yeah, especially with employment.
Okay.
Employment was a huge pressure for Cloud, but I just failed to really grasp. Just Cloud would say that she had, when she moved down to Auckland, not Auckland, to Hamilton with her boyfriend for a year, and I was really shocked that she couldn't get a job. But I had no idea what the picture was. I just assumed that she'd be okay, you know, that she was going through a tough time. She had a benefit at that stage, so she'd be okay. Everything, you know, would work out. But you start adding, and the other thing is that Cloud had been sexually abused as a young person, and that had a huge impact. But it scared me so much. And again, I made assumptions. I assumed that if we went to counselling, if I gave somebody else the responsibility, if I went and got help, then, you know, we'd be okay. Things would be all right. It's not like that. It's not like that at all. It's like we do need to speak up. We do need to use our hearts. We do need to use our, you know, our silent thinking time.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I keep asking myself, well, you know, you're saying you don't know or you've assumed stuff, and, you know, how can we be curious about stuff we don't even know, you know? How can we be curious? And you're talking intuition by the sounds of it, yeah?
Yeah, that's probably true, but what I'm coming back to is that I don't think the education that our children or that we got was adequate to help us investigate the type of life and where we wanted to make a difference. We were asked what career we wanted, and they were very limited careers. It was hugely confusing because it was limited, but it felt big, but it didn't feel like anything that you went, oh wow, yes, that's me. It was like, oh my God, I have to make money, you know, and what am I going to do? Because I actually love horses, and to be out in the country and be riding with my friends and to be looking at nature and to be saving birds and to be swimming in the water and caring for the ocean and collecting seaweed and putting it on the garden. There wasn't any job like that. But if I had been asked then, maybe I would, if I had, you know, maybe because there's vaccinations too, and we were in an age when they were just starting, and that must have had a huge effect on my memory, because I remember thinking, God, why can't I remember all this stuff? But it was rote learning. I was curious, but I think school took my curiosity away. So at that stage, I didn't want to know anymore, because I was sick of learning all this stuff that I wasn't interested in, and that really tuned me off learning. So I think education has to get a whole lot more relevant for young people, and it has to get relevant in a way that's saving the world, not about business, not about money, not about economics.
What would that system look like? Well, let's not call it a system even, because we don't like systems.
No, way of living, a way of being, and a way of being on this earth together. That's what it would look like. And I feel that the children, because the children still care about the animals. When they're little, they're the Buddhas, aren't they? Like, oh, don't hurt the butterfly. You know, look at they're very, they want to engage with everything. Let's be more like children. Let's start from there. But it would start with healthy food and homes, wouldn't it? And villages. It would start somewhere there, I feel, because food we really need to take charge of. It's gone into corporate business, and that's just ruined the whole thing. We don't have to. When do we see our crayfish in our paua? Just imagine how healthy we could be eating our life.
Out there in Whangaparoa today, so on the radio this morning. Just back to Cloudy, Deb. What was her vision for the future? What did she dream of as a young woman?
She really loved animals, so I believe that she really felt that she was going to be around animals and do something with the animals. But she started to look at business, be your own boss, beautician. Yeah, she loved, interestingly enough, she loved chemical compositions. Like, you know, those charts with PMO and that's whatever it is. And she had this big chart, and she wanted to go to this chemical school, whatever it was. I can't remember. It was in correspondence, but she just absolutely adored it. She had a huge capacity for love. So I believe she would have been led you know, to do something around either fitness or diet, things like that, because she was so interested in it, and she was really looking, she was working at Curves, and she was looking at how that could, you know, how she could incorporate quite a few of her loves within some, because she loved women as well and loved other people, so she really wanted to help there. I remember going in to Curves when she was there, and we were doing this measurement thing, and she was pulling the tape, pull it tighter, Cloud, pull it tighter. I was going, and she said, "Oh, Mum, I think you're going to have to work a bit harder."
Yeah.
But and she made a little, and this is so poignant for me now. I know it's going, but after this conversation, it's maybe going to sound like it is going somewhere. But she made a book that a daily diet book. I was supposed to write everything I ate in it. Well, now I just see this as being, oh my God, Claudia, you were so, you know, before your time, because really that's what we need to all be doing. What the hang am I putting into my body now? You know, start off there asking questions. So in relation to what would the world look like, it would look cared for, it would look nurtured, it would look like love, it would look joyful, it would look like children really love their lives. It wouldn't necessarily be easy, because we're going to have to work hard, because we're going to have to do things for ourselves, but we wouldn't be running out to buy string. We'd have to think, okay, what can I use in place of that? Right, oh, had you thought about using some flax, Mum? Oh, that's a great idea, Cloud. Okay, we're going to catch fish. We're going to buy bait. No, should we go and do that? You know, we'd actually be thinking about how we wouldn't be going, okay, an expert said this. We would start creating what we needed and what was needed.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, I'd love to ask you, and I don't even know what my question that's coming, but it's something about the soul. I'd really like to get your take on whether we started the conversation with some people saying suicide is a selfish act. Yeah?
Yeah.
You and I have had that conversation, knowing my own experience and day where I chose that I didn't want to be here either. And thank you for being part of my learnings around that. And if I could share that again with you and with the people listening, it was you offered me a really beautiful question when I revealed to you that one day I put myself in a hotel room. And I don't know if you remember this question, but I've said it again and again and again to people that I've spoken with around suicide. And the question was not why did you want to do it, but why did you choose it that day? Do you remember that question? Don't know if you remember that question at all. But anyway, I went away and I got into my logical mind, went, well, I thought about it a few times, and this, just turned up that day and I felt terrible. So then I decided, blah, blah, blah. But actually, when I really sat with it in my stillness, it came to me that it was the anniversary of my grandmother's death. And my grandmother's death to me as a 13-year-old was the most devastating thing for me in my life, because she was my closest person to me. Have I told you this story? So she was, that was pretty poignant in my life, where a lot of things turned in my life as a teenager, and it manifested for me in terms of eating issues, which I didn't understand at the time, but I do now understand from your beautiful question. What was it that preempted, or that was really the core of what changed for me? And that was the death of my grandmother. And there I was in the hotel room on the day of her death, not knowing that in my logical mind. But where I'm heading with this is, for me, when I talk suicide with people, I don't believe it's a selfish act. For me, it was about incredible pain. People don't do this when they're not in pain. I really get that. But I also feel, for me, and maybe this is relevant to some people, maybe it's not, is that my soul was actually desperately wanting a hug from my grandmother. I just wanted to be embraced by her, because I had no one else at the time. And for me, it wasn't depression, because I think we wrongly label depression. For me, when I really get down to it, it was loneliness.
And see,
support.
That's just, if I could just have a quick minute on depression, because I think depression is such a stupid word. It's just
It
made
is.
for mental health, which mental health is actually only pills. It's not nurture, it's not love, it's not going to be anything else except pills. So if we label everything with depression, then we don't have to say sexual abuse, we don't have to say loneliness, we don't have to say rape, we don't have to say bullying, we don't have to say any of these social conditions. We just say depression. Well, I'm sorry, depression doesn't work for me, and I will not abide by it. I want to know what your issue is.
Yeah.
What happened to you?
Yeah.
Depression? Sorry, there was somewhere along the line when you didn't get what you needed at that moment.
Yeah.
And then problems manifested on top of that.
Yeah.
That's
Another
what I
that word is press. What are those things that have pressed us down? And you're talking about collective things are helping us into our light, but also those things that are pressing us down. What are those things? So I'm learning more and more that storytelling is a really key thing for people to understand their life and how they can live an even better life. I mean, that could be a great, I don't even want to call it therapy, but that could be, you know, that could be one of the key things, I think, that we start to be real and raw with our stories.
Yes,
Yeah,
I do.
Really what's going on, and take away that label, like you say, because it means nothing really.
No, and we have to be able to get it out. And I wasn't freed. I couldn't say vagina, cock, penis till Cloud died.
Shivers, and
now
I can with fervour.
Anybody else thinks, and I'll say it how it is.
Yeah.
And if I want to have a Facebook called Vagina Love, I do have that Facebook page, Archive Vagina Love, because I could, you know, suicide has broken the taboos open, but I can understand how people feel more comfortable. Perhaps, you know, depression might be more comfortable than saying, actually, I was raped or I was abused, or I was whatever happened to me. You know, I understand that too, but really, I think that, like you said, people have been suppressed, and how you said about your soul journey, how you realised afterwards that you thought you needed a hug from your grandmother who was in soul. Well, yeah, I think we've got a lot to pull on, a lot to access, like our ancients, our angels, our guides, our soul journey. But we have to give ourselves time to process that. We have to we have to actually have silent time and time where we can actually access that stuff. It doesn't come when you're busy, when you're in the car running around doing things. It's not like that.
And that's maybe our most biggest disease, is our busyness and our
got to
machine, isn't it?
Got to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We actually have to stand back.
How can we be more content with who we are in this moment of our life, rather than doing that I want to make it stuff, and I'm still not there? How can we be more content in the skin we're in this moment of time?
Yes. Being
real, being connected, and being present with our closest and dearest.
Yeah. And how can we help other people to be more that way, because our experiences have taught us that we need to be more like this. We need this so badly, is to just feel and to understand those feelings and to be able to process them and to come to terms with it and to actually speak about them. Actually, I was really hurt. Yeah. Actually, somebody did something to me that they shouldn't have done. Whatever. We need to be able to, in children being told, don't say that. Or that didn't happen, and things like that. I mean, there's just so much. I can understand how confusing it can be, but I also would love to encourage other people to go and if you even start off reading something like a soul journey book, little books of affirmations. Louise Hay, I started with her. She was absolutely amazing with her affirmations in her book, and also the middle of it was about different ailments and how they reflected back to your soul need or your journey on a metaphysical level.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just think investigate, and ask the really hard questions about what's going on in your life, and find out that information. Then you can make informed choices. Okay, I can never win this game because it was set up that way that I can never win it. So therefore, I need to do this. Try this. And something to free you anyway.
Yeah. Now we haven't gone down the grief path, but what were the key things that you learned about your own grieving that may be helpful to others?
Well, I learned that when you lose somebody to suicide, or your children to suicide, that you yourself become suicidal. I definitely, had a challenge to stay on this earth through some of that time. I definitely did. I want to be with Cloud. Yeah. But I also wanted to be here for my son. So in many ways it was thanks to my son that I'm still here now, because I don't think I would be if he wasn't here. I didn't want to be here anymore. I'd had enough then. That was it for me. So coming back from that point was hard. It was really hard. And as I spent many hours walking down the beach and calling out to the, I don't know what, I found sounds coming out that I've never uttered before. Yeah, it just came. But I had to go with all of those feelings. I had to sit with them. I had to learn how to be with myself. And I think the best way that I know how to do that is to be in nature, because that's what I contribute to healing me, was actually nature. And through nature, Cloud could speak to me. There would be a dancing shoe washed up on the beach, not just a sandal or a jandal, no, a shoe with a heel, and then a candle a bit further on. What did I get from that? Oh my God, Cloud, thank you so much, my little dancing princess. Yes, I thank you.
Your light.
It brought tears and joy. Of course, I went and lit the candle. I put the shoe up, and that helped. Yes, I cry, and I still cry, and I'll forever cry. I'll miss her till the day I see her again. But at the same time, my life's taken on a lot more meaning, because I'm in the present moment, and there isn't anything taboo, and I want to ask questions, and I want to know the answers. So I think the other thing that really helped me was I went and investigated for myself. What the hell is going on here? What happened to my beautiful daughter? What
can I do? Until you got the answers, yeah?
Yeah, I needed that first. And I do want to say that if I just truly hope it doesn't happen to you, but I know it's happening to a lot of people, a lot of women, a lot of beautiful women, a lot of beautiful families. If it happens to you, please, please, please get your own records. Quickly get your phone records, because the police don't do it routinely. Nobody does it routinely. Go get everything you can right there and then. You're in no state to do it. I totally understand that, but they're lost forever if you don't. So there's nobody going to help you, just like the rest of the homelessness and everything else. There's not going to be anybody help you out there as far as state agencies go. You'd just be drugged and thing. You have to actually learn to cope and stand on your own 2 feet, and to take the beautiful hugs that are offered to you, and the heartfelt stuff that's given to you, even though you can't really feel it at that time. Well, I couldn't anyway, because I was missing Cloud too much. I just could not, and it was completely inadequate most of the time, because with that huge pain and that huge loss, nobody could feel it. So everything that people tried to say or do actually never felt adequate. So I think for me, I needed to go away and to walk the beaches and to just have quiet time with Cloud and with my son, so that we could, I smelt Cloud's perfume, during that time. I knew she was with me, and I still know that she's with me, and I still know that we have an everlasting connection. So there's no doubt in my mind that stuff is completely real to me, and that keeps me on the earth now because I feel connected and joined and thing. But I read lots of books as well, but they're really, I seek them out. I mainly get them in secondhand shops, but they are very much heart-centered, affirming, lifting, you know, be good to you type things, but also your virtues and affirmations, and just feeding myself really good stuff. Stuff that matters to me, that I think's really real and real relevant, that I can pass on to other people. That's what's important to me now, and that's what's got me here right now to still be here.
Deb, you're amazing. I have an acronym for women, and that is, and I love the way you spell woman, by the way. If we spell it the other way, woman with an M-I-N, I think it is.
Yes.
But if we spell it the old traditional way, the woman, it's woman of mana empowering the nation. And when I think of women in that light, it's not just about, you know, we don't have to go out there and save the world necessarily, but what I see in you is you're saving one child at a time, because of the way that you attend and be with them and be present with them and care about them and love them. Yeah. And that you care about your community, because I know you're a really good community girl, and you're making a difference nationally because of, you know, some of your stand that you are making and have made. So I just want to honor you as a beautiful woman this time round. That, you know, you're empowering yourself, but empowering others by just your sheer honesty and your sheer realness and your sheer connection with people. So I just honor you today for this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Janelle. I can't wait till the next time that we can meet up, and my heart just goes out to all the women that may come and view our talks and Janelle's lovely interviews with all the other women that have, you know, that we just want to help we want to help our sisters that are coming up. I'm 55 now. I'm conscious of all the women that have got their young babies and that still, you know, have still got to come through all the stuff that we have come through. And I think that's what I hear from you too, Janelle, is that you're really trying to help so many people, so many women and so many children as well. And I'm
absolutely. We're mother hearts, Deb. We can't not do it.
Come to us. We want to hug you.
Exactly. We want to hug you. We want to cry with you. We want to listen with you. Yeah, we want to.
Yes.
And that's interesting, because I've just started this women's circle, and really that the key three elements of that is, I hear you, I see you, and I love you. Let's leave our soul conversation at that today. And so love you, see you, hear you, Deb. Mwah. Mwah. Ciao, ciao.